Hi everyone, welcome to the day 13 of our Power BI training. Today we will focus on the performance optimization part of the Power BI. Today we will cover the best practices for the data model design, how we can reduce the report size, and the query folding concepts. So let's get started. Let's talk about the best practices for the data model design. So we have to use always a star schema instead of a snowflake schema. This means that fact tables in the center and the dimensions around them. So we have to avoid too many relationships and only we have to create those which are necessary. Let me just go to the model view, and here I have loaded a fact table and 4 dimension table. So you can see we have the six fact table and we have the dimension, date, product, customer and the store. And all are interconnected with the all the dimensions are interconnected with the fact. And you can see this is one fact in the center and the dimensions are their corners, so storing as a star. Okay, so we have to avoid too many relationships so that uh, we can fetch the results fast. We should always hide the unused columns and tables to keep the data model clean. Let's say as of now we are having only 5 tables here, but what if we are working with the 70 tables or 80 tables, and we only require for a particular part of the dashboard, we only require tables in the model. So we should hide other tables and we should only show the tables which we require. Apart from the tables, we should always hide the key columns from the model view or from the report view, so that we can it will not show the unnecessary column, and it will not do any kind of confusion. It will not create any kind of confusion. Okay, how we can remove the how we can hide the unnecessary columns. Let's say for the key columns, we can just click on this button and it will be hide from the report view. So I just have written key and I can see all the keys. I will select this one and I'll select shift and I'll go to this one. Till here, all the key column has been selected, and we can right click and we can hide them. Just a second. Okay, see, everybody got hidden. Similarly, we have to hide all the key column in all the tables, all the dimension tables as well, so that it will not create any kind of confusion when we fetch in the report view. Okay, and always use a numeric surrogate key instead of a long text type joins. So these are the some best practices which makes the model simpler and faster. Now the next part is how we can reduce the report size. We can always remove the unnecessary columns which is storing the size, which is storing the data in the Power BI file. So let's say in our case, from the customer, we don't need email. So what we can do, we can delete the email column, because this is what we are not going to do anything. Okay. Like that, we have to find the unnecessary unnecessary columns which we don't required in our reporting part, and we can remove them. We should always use correct data types to reduce the size of the tables. Don't store dates as text or decimals. We should always store the dates. Let's say in the date, we should always store it as a date data type, not as text or any other. Aggregate data when possible instead of loading transactional level data. We should always go with the summarized data. And we should always turn off the auto date time in Power BI option. So, uh, or else we can use a proper date table instead. These are the small steps which can reduce the file size significantly. As of now, we are working with very small data. But if we are working with millions and multi-millions records, those small things are very useful in our day-to-day Power BI projects. Finally, now let's talk about query folding. So, query folding is nothing. It is just Power Query pushes the transformations back to the source. Let's say, for an example, so what Power Query is doing? Let's say whatever the transformations we are applying using the filters and all. For example, if I filter row in Power Query, so the SQL handles that filter instead of Power BI loading, it will handle it in the source level only. So what it will do, it will make the refresh faster. Let's say if we are talking about the product dimension, if I just only want the details of laptop, so I'll only select the laptop and I'll click on OK. So here instead of filtering here, the query folding will filter it in the source level itself. So this makes the refresh much faster, but not all steps support query folding. So things like complex custom columns can break query folding and forcing Power BI to process the data locally. So always try to do as many transformations as possible early in Power Query while folding is still active. So let's say when we are loading the data, we should always come to the transform data part. And here only if we don't want the unnecessary data, we can apply filter, we can remove them so that query folding work and it will uh, fetch the data and it will make the refresh little faster. So today what we covered? We covered the three main areas of performance optimization, which was our data model for the best practice. As I mentioned, it should be a star schema, not the snowflake schema. We should not go with the multi interconnected dimension like sub dimensions. That will create complex joins and it will reduce the performance. And always try to reduce the report size by removing unnecessary columns. And what are the importance of the query folding? So these sets so this is the one, this is the most important things in our Power BI when we are working with multiple tables or a very large files, or these are the small things which we should notice in the early stage, so that we can make our Power BI dashboards a very efficient and a very uh, performance optimized dashboards. So this is all for today. Let's connect again tomorrow. See you. Bye bye.